In January, Australia-based Gilmour Space Technologies announced it raised $145 million in Series E funding. The company says it's on a mission to design, manufacture, test, and launch rockets and satellites. Adam Gilmour, CEO of Gilmour Space Technology, joins me now. Adam, welcome to the New York Stock Exchange.
Thank you very much. Great to be here.
All right, so before we dive into the funding news, tell me, what is Gilmour Space doing? What is your mission?
Well, we're based in Australia and we build orbital launch vehicles and we build small satellites and we have our own launch site. And so you could call us like a full stack service offering in Australia. And we're pretty much the only one in Australia. So we're the largest space company. And we work with a lot of the industry in Australia, but we want to be one of the top providers of launch capability in the world, in the Western world anyway.
All right, and how do you plan to allocate the fresh capital?
We're putting it into hiring more engineers. We're buying some more machines to increase our vertical integration inside a factory. We've got a 100,000 square foot factory on the Gold Coast, which is near the city of Brisbane in Queensland. And we're expanding our launch site, which is about 1,000 miles north of where we build the rockets.
All right, and what does this Series E round of funding say about the level of confidence in Australia in the space industry?
Well, it's the biggest funding round by a space company in history. We had about half of it come in from the federal government through funding organisations. So this is the first time the federal government's taken an equity stake in a space company like ours, which we're very happy with. And the bulk of the money came from pension funds, which again in Australia are not traditionally investing in private companies. And we even had some pension funds that had never invested in a private company before invest in us. And so we're setting a lot of new standards.
Okay, and what problem is Gilmour Space solving for?
The massive bottleneck in launch. And so if you look around the world, there's literally more than 500 different companies making satellites. And there's just a handful that are going to space regularly to launch them. And it's not enough. And so we've got customers all around the world that can't wait for us to get orbital capability and be able to take their rides up into all the different inclinations in space that they want to go to.
When you say take the rides up, like what will you be launching into space, and when do you think it'll happen?
Well, we've got a few more launch attempts to go before we think we can get to orbit. We've got at least one this year, two more at least next year. When we go commercial, we'll be able to take satellites that are up to about 150 to 300 kilograms of size into low Earth orbit, and we'll be able to take them to all kinds of different orbits. Because it's a dedicated launch, we can fly to inclinations from 20 degrees all the way up to sun synchronous.
We've been hearing so much about the commercial space industry. Do you think this is the moment for the commercial space industry?
I think we're seeing a massive pivot. I think what's changing is the uses that space technology can provide. You're talking about data centers and solar power from space and all kinds of other activities. And all of that means is we just need to make more satellites and launch more of them to space. So I think, there's a big moat of technology behind launch vehicles. So it's going to be hard for a lot of other launch vehicles to come. But the ones that are around now have to really get going and get their cadence up.
What is the regulatory environment and logistics around getting a satellite into space?
It's pretty difficult. So we were the first to get an orbital launch permit in Australia, and it took a lot longer than we thought it would. But now that we've got it, we think the process is smoothed out. We continue to work with the Space Agency in Australia to make sure that we're doing what they would like to see in terms of testing and getting the next rockets ready. And we think it's going to be a lot quicker from now on in. I think, we've done the hardest mission already in terms of that.
All right, and what are you currently testing, particularly when it comes to launches?
We're testing rocket engines, so you've got to test rocket engine all the time. We're upgrading our main rocket engines. We've just finished doing a test campaign of the third stage liquid rocket engine, and we came up with a few things that we want to fix on that, and so we're putting the fixes in and we'll test again, and we're testing avionics systems at length.
Why did you decide to get into this industry? What about it excites you?
Well, I was a banker. So I was a banker for 20 years. I worked at Citibank and I always loved space. And after 20 years, I decided I wanted to do something else. It looked like the market was ripe for investment. I did analysis of the market and saw that launch was the bottleneck. That was 12 years ago. And it hasn't changed. And so that's what really got me in, and I've just been plugging away ever since.
So you're just like, I want to start a space company.
Yeah, pretty much. And
amazing.
you got to do a lot of planning and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And you've got to hire all the right engineers. But I did a lot of study, just like Elon, I guess, and you learn.
All right, and what is next for Gilmour Space?
We've got a suborbital mission in about 3 or 4 months that's testing a hypersonic vehicle for testing, and then our next orbital mission is in October. And we're also putting another 100-kilogram class satellite up in October.
All right, Adam Gilmour, CEO of Gilmour Space Technologies. Thank you so much for joining us at the New York Stock Exchange.
Pleasure.